Joy Wright, J.L. Wright, is an award-winning poet and is a two-time member of U2C3. She is committed to living the life of a poet, observing and documenting the voice of the people. She currently teaches at Del Mar College, and through her, I think it's your website? Business Writings. Please welcome Joy Wright.
Good morning, everybody. And we have a PowerPoint that's going to go along with this a little bit, just to help keep you entertained. So notice that this is going to be about Corpus Christi, because that's the Corpus Christi skyline right there. And I want to talk about how UUA, the Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Church, in June, they voted at the Assembly on 3 acts of immediate witness. So what is an act of immediate witness? The language actually comes from a legal term where witnesses provide firsthand accounts that they're going to tell the truth, right? So it's trying to get the truth out to be seen and heard. And so let's share a reflection about the 3 AIWs, or acts of immediate witness, that the UUAs have approved. These 3 are, the first one says, faithful defiantism, reaffirming our covenants for democracy and freedom. The second, funding global LGBTIQ, and I always say QI, plus freedom amid crisis. And number 3, we declare and reaffirm that all people have inherent worth and inalienable rights. Each of these was passed at the Assembly with over 98% support. This is really rare. Think about anything getting voted and being approved at 98%. We are being called to action by this faith and defiance to remember who we are. So the first, faithful defiance of authoritarianism. If you can see the picture up there, this is a picture of Austin, and it's a picture of the voting areas, the different districts. And there's currently some process of gerrymandering coming up in the wonderful state of Texas. Because the faithful defiance of authoritarianism is not just a political language. It's a spiritual language, though, right? So authoritarianism is any force that dominates, dehumanizes, and disconnects. Dominates, dehumanizes, and disconnects. It thrives on fear, isolation, it punishes difference, and suppresses the truth. Faithful defiance is more than resistance. It's covenantal living. We are not bound by dogma in our church, but by promises. Our promises to show up, to speak truth, to defend the vulnerable, to tell the story of freedom, even when it's dangerous. In 1930s Germany, the confessing church, including theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, stood against Nazism, not because they thought they would win, because their faith demanded it. We too are asked, will we be loyal to democracy or to comfort, to truth or to silence, to our beloved community or to what's easy? We won't all agree on politics. I love the 10 o'clock meeting, if you come before church, the 10:15 meeting where we talk about whatever the topic is of the day, because we don't agree. I assure you, we do not agree. But everybody has an opinion, and everybody has a right to their opinion. And the things that we have to do in our faith, though, is we have to agree that all people deserve freedom, safety, and dignity. And that democracy is not optional. It's no one is disposable. No one is disposable. Last month, the Supreme Court ruling of U.S. versus Schimetti upheld restrictions on gender-affirming care for trans youth, a dangerous erosion of civil liberties, like the overturning of Roe versus Wade, showing rising control over bodily autonomy and truth. Here in Texas, slide, I think we're ready, there we go. Here in Texas, a mid-decade redistricting plan threatens to flip the congressional seats, first of all, that we've already talked about, but this is not politics, it's an assault on our representative democracy. Faithful defiance means that we do not look away, we normalize injustice or confuse legality with morality. We have to remember who we are and then act. The second AIW is funding global LGBTQI, IQ, whichever alphabet soup you want. It's all of a humanity among crisis. Amid crisis, across the globe, Uganda, Russia, the United States, the Middle East, LGBTQI people are under attack. Laws, criminalization, identity, silencing speech, and inciting violence. And yet queer and trans people still organize. They build networks of care, underground railroads, and survival. They dare to live and love in defiance of fear. So these are some of the organizations that are here in Corpus Christi. As a faith that welcomes LGBTQ into our ministry, we have a call to aid, for material aid, to put our money and our voices behind those on the front lines. Freedom is not a national privilege, it's a human right. That means fundraising, hosting speakers, advocating asylum protections, speaking and praying in public for those that the world wants to erase. Whatever it is, it must be rooted in fierce, faithful love. Here in Texas, over a dozen anti-LGBTQI laws were passed this year, part of the over 200 nationwide. These laws have closed support programs, they rolled back protections and restricted health care for trans youth and adults. Here in Texas, Senate Bill 1257 discourages insurance companies and insurance coverage for gender-affirming care. House Bill 229 legally defines man and woman solely based on anatomy. And Senate Bill 7 would fine facilities for restroom access by gender identity, endangering trans and non-binary Texans every single day. I attended the People's Council yesterday, and someone said, "Oh well, but we have gender-neutral restrooms," and I said, "That does not support people in what they choose." And they're like, "Well, but they can just use that restroom." And I'm like, and maybe that is the message that someone who wants to threaten somebody might want to see. It's like, oh, they can't use the men's room, or they can't use the women's room. And how many public places do not have gender-neutral restrooms? The third AIW, all people have inherent worth and inalienable rights. This is the heartfelt of our faith as Unitarian Universalists. It is remembering the world keeps making us forget. Forget that migrants are worthy. Forget that disabled are worthy. Forget that imprisoned people are worthy. Forget political opponents are still worthy. That one's kind of the tough one. I'm going to say that one again. Forget that political opponents are still worthy. I have a family that voted the other way. They believe the other way. But that doesn't make them not human. And it doesn't make them less to me than what I want them to be. Their choice is to be less to me because they choose to be. Sorry about that little aside there. Inherent worth is not an abstract. It demands something real. To believe in it is to reject oppression, to interrupt dehumanization, and to be transformed. Yes, we all fall short, especially as a denomination. We treat people of color. We treat people who are disabled. We treat people who are on the margins. Do we treat them as we should all the time? I think about some of the people who used to come here, and they don't any longer. And I think about some of the people who have been marginalized in our faith. Reaffirming their inherent worth means beginning again as an act of love. This year, the United States escalated immigration crackdowns and eliminated bond hearings and firing immigration judges. And in Texas, where the most immigrants are being detained, lives are being devastated. I'm going to show you a quick piece of news about Noe Furman Guerrero Mendieta.
The Juice Box Bully by Bob Sorensen and Marie.
We start with a new development in the case of a Waco man arrested by ICE officers, only to later have the charges dropped.
We've now learned that according to a coworker, he's been transferred from a Waco jail to a detention center in Conroe. But tonight it remains unclear what charge he will face. 6 News anchor Adriana Alexander spoke with his attorney to get a breakdown on where his case stands.
Noe Guerrero was arrested by ICE agents July 24th and charged with failure to have his registration documents on him when confronted by ICE. This is a requirement for non-U.S. citizens. Turns out Guerrero did in fact have his paperwork on him, but was just unclear on what they needed at that time. Guerrero's attorney, Annalie Looper, told 6 News Guerrero's charges were dropped by the Department of Justice on Friday, but his bond reinstatement was denied by ICE. He is currently being held at the Conroe Detention Center, allegedly outside of Houston, awaiting a bond hearing. While his charges were dropped, Looper says ICE wants to question him about an investigation, and the process of getting him home will likely be a long one.
ICE is taking the position that
And that just frightens me. how many of you have been, just raise your hand if you were aware of this case that's going on, because it's still ongoing. Okay, just a few of us, okay. Again, this is Waco. So this year, the United States has escalated immigration crackdowns. They have eliminated bond hearings, and they fired a bunch of immigration judges. In Texas, where the most immigrations are detained, lives are devastated. No person is disposable. What does all of this mean for us, all three of these? First, that we have to talk about these things. We have to have these conversations. We have to have them here in worship. We have to have them in small groups. We have to have them in justice teams. And how we, the faithful, are going to act in a time of authoritarianism. How are we going to be supportive of the global queer liberation? How are we going to affirm worth in action and not just in theory? Up here and on the wall over there, there is a thing that says, I can't and I can. And we were talking during our 10 o'clock meeting this morning of, I can't do this or I can't do that. You know what? I do not stand, which is 1 block away from my house, on Ocean Drive for the protests, because I have a hard time standing out in the heat. I can't do that. But you know what? I can send a postcard to a politician. I can send a postcard to someone who's in a detention center. I can't donate $10 a month for the Democratic Party because I don't make that much money. So I can't do that. But you might be able to. Or you might tell a friend that they might be able to. Or you might make a donation of $1 a month. So I want us to think about changing that message of I can'ts to I cans. We have to take risk. They don't have to be large. They can be small. But spiritual growth never happens in comfort. What risk will you be willing to take this month for freedom, for truth, for love? We, as a people of hope, are not naive. We're grounded. We're grounded right here in gritty hope. The kind of hope that says, even in injustice, I will show up. Even in the darkness, I will light a candle. And even in fear, I will choose love. Today, during our offertory, you're going to be offered a sticky. And on your way out of the room, I'd like you to either put that sticky, whichever sticky you get, in the I can't, because it's over your spiritual, physical, or mental well-being, or I can. And that's going to be a promise. That's going to be a promise that you make. And if you put it in the I can't side of this chart, maybe someone who steps up after you can be the person who moves that to the I can. Thank you very much.